Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is T of the FTK Crochet brand and I am back with another tutorial. So today we are going to be making the tutorial for this beautiful Granny Stitch top. It is a step-by-step detailed tutorial, so it is beginner friendly. If you are new to crochet, this is something you can actually make for yourself or for a loved one. I actually used the Granny Stitch on this one, that's why I'm calling it the Granny Stitch top, and it's a crop top, but you can actually make it long if that is what you want. All right, so before we go into today's tutorial, make sure you are subscribed to my channel. All right. So without further ado, let us get into today's tutorial. Okay, so for this project, these are the materials that you are going to need. You are going to need your yarn, of course. So I'm using this cotton fleece yarn. It's an all-season luxury cotton yarn, and it's 80% cotton and it's 20% merino wool. Okay, so it's net weight, and net weight is 3.5 oz and is 100 grams. All right, so we are going to be needing, I think, 2 of this for this particular project, but depending on the size that you are working with. Okay, but you can go ahead to use whatever yarn you feel comfortable using. It doesn't have to be exactly the same yarn that I'm using. Okay, so you are going to need a measurement tape, very important. You're going to need the scissors, some stitch markers, a tapestry needle, and then for this project we are going to be working with a 4mm hook size. Okay, but for this particular yarn, the label wants me to use a 6mm, but I want my work tighter, so I'm going to be going with a 4mm hook size. So depending on the yarn that you are using and your yarn size, that is how you choose the hook size that goes with it. All right, so let us get into it. Okay, so the measurement you're going to need for this one is going to be your bust measurements, and then you are going to measure from your shoulders to under your bust. Okay, so now the length that you get from your shoulder under your bust, you are going to double it. All right, so for this one now, the one I'm making now, I'm going to be making my bust measurements as 40, and then from my shoulder to under my bust is 14. So like I told you, the length, which is from my shoulder to under my bust, I'm going to double it, so I'm going to be making 28. So for this one, we are going to be working vertically. So the length that you get now from your shoulders to under your bust, which is for my own case now 14, then I double it 28. That is the foundation chain that I'm going to be making. All right, I do hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so you make sure you take your own measurement from your shoulders to under your bust, or if you know you want it longer, that will be your own choice. This particular top I'm making now, it's like a crop. It's a crop top. All right, so you go ahead now to make your foundation chain, and I'll be right back to tell you how many chains I end up making and what we are going to be doing next. All right, and when you make your chains, make sure you are making it in multiples of 4. All right, multiples of 4. Okay, so I'm done with my chain, and I ended up making 120 chains. Okay, 120 chains, and like I told you, it is in multiples of 4. All right, so this 120 chains now gave me exactly the 28 inches that I'm going for. All right, so now to begin the row 1, you are going to chain up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so you count this 5 back now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th stitch you are going to be going in there with a double crochet, just like this, and on that same stitch you are going to be going in there with 2 more double crochet to make a cluster. All right, so when you put 3 double crochet inside one stitch, I'm going to be referring to that as a cluster, because that is what we are going to be working on here, the granny stitch. All right, so now you are going to chain up 1 and skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th one you are going to go in there with a cluster. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so now you are going to chain up 1 again, skip 3 stitches, and on the 4th stitch you are going to be going in there with a cluster. So for this row 1, this is exactly what you are going to be doing. All right, so keep doing this chain up 1, skip 3 stitches, and on the 4th stitch go in with a cluster until you get to the very end right here. So when I get to the end here, I'll come back to tell you what we are going to be doing next. All right. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row 1 now. So to end on this row 1, you're just going to chain up 1 like we've been doing, because as you can see, we only have just 3 stitches left right here. All right, so now you're going to skip the 2 stitches, and on the 3rd stitch you're just going to go in there with just 1 double crochet to end the row. All right, just like this. So as you can see, we only have 1 double crochet here, and then the chain 5 that we made created just 1 double crochet on this part. All right, so now to begin the row 2, you are going to chain up 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then turn your work to the other side. All right, so now this chain 3 is going to be serving as our first double crochet. So on this space now, you are going to be going in there with 2 more double crochet to create your first cluster, just like this. All right, then now chain up 1 and then skip this cluster, and on the next space you are going to be going in there with a cluster. 1, 2, and 3, and then chain up 1, and on the next space you are going to be going in there with a cluster. So this is exactly what you are going to be doing for the row 2. All right, so it's as easy as that. Just chain up 1, and on the next space you go in there with a cluster. So keep doing that until the end of this row, and I'll come back to tell you how we end the row and how we are going to begin the next row. All right. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row 2 now, and this is how it's looking so far. So to end on this row 2 now, you're going to chain up 1. Okay, that I already did. And as you can see now, we only have the space left here. So you're going to skip the cluster and go into the space with a cluster, which is 3 double crochet on that space. 2 and 3. All right, so now as you can remember, we started with a cluster here, and now we are ending with a cluster right here. All right, so for the next row now, I'm going to be switching to my second color. Okay, so if you are using one color, you don't have to do this, but if you are switching colors, then you have to cut off this yarn just like this and tie this one. Okay, then now turn your work to the other side just like this, and then you are going to reattach your yarn on the very first stitch. Okay, so now you are going to reattach your yarn on the very first stitch here, and then chain up 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so for this one now, the reason why we are making 4 chains here is because 3 is going to be standing as our first double crochet. Then you know in between every clusters we need to chain up 1. Okay, so now you are going to yarn over, and now on the next space you are going to be going in there with a cluster. 1, 2, and 3. And then you are going to chain up 1, and on the next space you are going to be going in there with a cluster. All right, so this is exactly what you are going to continue. It's just the repetition of number 2 and number 3, okay, for the entire length of this particular panel. All right, so on this one we are going to be working 2 panels. Okay, so like I told you, the one I'm making now is the bust measurement is 40. Okay, so for this panel now we are going to be making 10. Okay, we are going to be making 10 inches. All right, because when we use it, we are going to be bending it like this, and this is going to be the first panel, and then we are going to make another one, and that is going to be the second panel. So you go ahead and continue making the rows until you get 10 inches for this very first panel. Okay, so when I'm done with my 10 inches, I'm going to come back to tell you what we're going to be doing next. Okay, so I'm done with my 10 inches and this is how it's looking so far. So you can see how I played with the color now. So this 10 inches, I did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 rows. So the 19 rows is what gave me the 10 inches that I'm going for. All right, so now we are going to be going ahead to make something identical because like I told you, we are going to be working 2 panels. All right, so go ahead and do exactly the same thing and I'll be right back to tell you what we are going to be doing next when I'm done with my second panel. All right. Okay, so I'm done with my second panel and now we have 10 inches on this part and then we have 10 inches on this part. So the way we are going to be making it the 40 inches, like I told you, around my bust, is we are going to be making it like this because like I told you, is a crop top. So we are going to be folding it in like this and then we are going to be folding this part in like this. So automatically now, if we have 10 inches here and 10 inches on the other parts, then when you turn it to the other side, you're going to be getting 10 inches here and 10 inches here. So now I have my 40 inches as my chest measurements. All right, and as you can see, the length that I told you about from my shoulders now to this part is going to be under my bust. Okay, so now we've succeeded in achieving that. So now the next step, we are going to be joining it together. So when we join it, it's going to come out just like this. All right, so now you are going to put some stitch markers here. All right, so depending on how much chest you want to reveal, that is where you are going to be joining it to. All right, so all you just need to do is count your clusters. So let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I think I'm going to be ending mine here, just like this. So the amount you counted here now, that is exactly what you're going to be counting on the other side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then put a stitch marker there. So that is for the first joining. It will be better if you put it on your body so that you'll be comfortable with the amount you want to leave for the neck area, because this is going to be for the neck area. Okay, then now for the hand area, you're going to take around your arm measurement to know how much you want to leave right here. So around my arm is 18 inches. Okay, so if I take 9 inches from the top now and 9 inches from the back, I'm going to be getting exactly 18 inches. So as you can see, this is where the first 9 inches stopped. So I'm going to be putting a stitch marker here, just like this. So this is where I'm going to be revealing for my hand. This circle here now happens to be 18 inches. So I'm just going to count it and do exactly the same thing on the other side. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th holes, that is what we are doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you put a stitch marker there, just like this. So now that we know all the places that we are going to be closing, let us start closing. All right, so let us get joining. Okay, so for the joining, we are going to be starting with the front and then we'll join the back before we go to the hand area. All right, so to begin that, you are going to lay your work flat just like this. So we are going to be using the tapestry needle method. So we are sewing, but there are other ways you can join. You can decide to use a single crochet to join or a slip stitch, but me, I'll be going with this needle. Okay, so for this one now, you don't need to turn your work inside out because the front and the back is going to come out beautifully. All right, so to begin, you are going to be taking a strand of yarn from the yarn that you've been working with, and make sure you take the strand long enough to cover these parts. Okay, and then you cut it off like this. So now you are going to put your yarn into your needle just like this. So to begin, you are going to go into the very first stitch here. Please just watch what I'm doing, okay? Let me bring it down a bit. So you are going to go into the first stitch here, and then you go into the first stitch on the other panel just like this. And then you're going to drag it out, and make sure you leave a little tail at the end here, because this is what you are going to be using to tie it when you are done. Okay, so now you're going to come to this panel again and pick the stitch from the bottom and drag it out. Okay, go to the next panel, make sure you're taking the next stitch, do not skip any stitch because we want everything to be uniform, and take that from the bottom and drag it out. All right, so come back to this stitch on this other panel, pick it from the bottom and drag it out. So this is just how you are going to be doing the joining. Go to the next panel and pick the stitch from the very bottom just like this and drag it out. All right, keep doing this. Go to the next panel, pick the stitch from the bottom and drag it out, and do this. And make sure when you are doing it, you are looking at what you are doing, because we want it to be exactly the same arrangement. So if there is a cluster here, we need this cluster to be the same, should be uniform with this cluster should be uniform with this cluster. So do that until you get to this point here, which is where our first stitch marker is, and I'll come back to tell you what we're going to be doing next. Okay, so I'm done sewing these parts, and as you can see, you see how it's all uniform and blended together. All right, so now you go ahead to do exactly the same thing on the other side, because I'm going off camera now to do exactly the same thing here, and then when I'm done, I'll come back to tell you how we are going to be joining the hand area. All right, okay, so I'm done with my own joining, and this is what I did. You see how beautiful it looks, you see how it all blended together. So like I told you, all I just did is count the clusters. So I did 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 clusters all together. So that's what I joined. So if you want to use the measurements, what I left out for the neck area is so 12 inches altogether. So if I take 6 inches from this side and I take 6 inches from the other side, so I revealed exactly 12 inches on the neck area. All right, so the next step now, we are going to be joining the hand. So like I told you, you measure around your arm and know where you want to reveal as your hand. Like my own now is 18, so what I did, I took 9 from here and 9 from the other place, like I told you. So this is where I'm going to be closing. All right, so we are going to be doing the closing the same way we did this one. Okay, so just get your tapestry needle and get the yarn that you've been using, just take a strand from it and join it exactly the same way you joined these parts. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera now to join mine. I'm going to join here and join these parts, and I'm going to come back to show you how it's looking and what we are going to be doing next. Okay, so I'm done joining the sides, so this is how it's looking. Let me show you the other one. So you see how it's all blended together. It's exactly the same thing we did here in the middle. All right, so like this, we have a crop top. So if you like, you can actually leave it like this, you can actually rock it like this. It's a full top like this. All right, but for my own, I want to make a band. So the next step now is to start working at this bottom parts. All right, so to begin the bottom parts, we are going to be making clusters just like this. We are going to make it all around the bottom, but this time around we are not going to be making one chain when we do the clusters. All right, so you can just go ahead and reattach your yarn anywhere. All right, let me bring it down so you see what I'm doing clearly. All right, so you can go ahead to reattach your yarn anywhere. I'm just going to reattach mine here on the sides. Okay, so chain up 3, 1 2 and 3. So that 3 is going to be serving as our first double crochet. So on that same space, you are going to be going in there with 2 more double crochets to create your first cluster, just like this. So you know, when we're doing this parts, the body parts, we always make 1 chain after making our clusters, but this time around we are not going to be making a chain. Okay, you're just going to yarn over, go into the next space, and just do a cluster. 1, 2, and 3. And on the next space, you're just going to be going in there with a cluster. 1, 2, and 3. And on the next space, you're going to be going in there with a cluster. So this is exactly what you are going to be doing for this row all around. Each of the spaces, you're just going to be going in there with a cluster, and make sure you are not making 1 chain like we did when we're creating the body of the top. All right, just keep making clusters in each of the spaces, and when I'm done with mine, I'll come back to tell you what we're going to be doing next. All right. Okay, so I'm at the end of the first row now. So to end the row, you are going to be doing a slip stitch on the very 3rd stitch, the 3rd chain stitch that you started with right here. You're going to do a slip stitch on that stitch to end the row, just like this. All right, so now we are going to be repeating another row at the bottom here. Okay, so as you can remember, we've been doing 2 of each of the colors, so that is exactly what we are going to be repeating here. So we are going to be doing another row of this dark pink right here. All right, so to begin the next row, you are going to chain up 3, then turn your work to the other side. Okay, so now this chain 3 is going to be serving as our first double crochet. So on this same space now, you are going to be going in there with 2 more double crochets to create the very first cluster, just like this. Okay, so go into the next space and create the next cluster. So you are already familiar with this. Just go ahead to put in 1 cluster on each of the spaces, and there is no chain 1 in between on this one as well. Okay, so just keep creating 1 cluster on each of the spaces all around, and I will meet you at the end again to tell you what we're going to be doing next. Okay. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row 2 now. So to end this row, you are going to be doing a slip stitch on the chain 3 stitch you started with right here. All right, so now for the row 3, you are going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, then turn your work to the other side. So this time around, we are going to be doing just 1 double crochet on each of the stitches. All right, we are not creating clusters this time around. We are just going to be making 1 double crochet on each of the stitches. So this chain 3 now is going to be serving as our first double crochet. So on the next stitch, you are going to be going in there with 1 double crochet. And on the next stitch, you're going to be going in there with 1 double crochet. And on the next stitch, you're going to be going in there with 1 double crochet. So you continue putting in 1 double crochet on each of the stitch all around, and I will meet you here. All right. Okay, so I'm done with the row 3, and now for the row 4, we are going to be doing something a little bit different. All right, so now to begin that, you are going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. So this chain 3 now is going to be serving as our very first double crochet. So this time around, we are going to be doing a front post on the very next stitch, front post double crochet, just like this. And on the next stitch, we are going to be doing a back post double crochet. So for this row, we are going to be doing a front post and a back post double crochet. All right, next stitch, back post, and the next front post. So keep doing this all around, and I will meet you at the end when I'm done with this row so we can start the next row. All right. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row 4 now, and as you can see, my last stitch is the front post. So now to end on this row, instead of going into the chain 3 stitch that you started with, you are going to go into the space right here, and do a slip stitch in that space. So what that does, it pushes this chain 3 stitch back, so it looks like a back post double crochet. All right, so now to begin the next row, you are going to chain up 3. So this 3 is going to be serving as our first double crochet. So now you see the previous row, you did a front post on the very first stitch. So on that front post now, you are going to be doing a front post on that stitch. So you do a front post double crochet with that stitch, and the back post double crochet, you do a back post double crochet with that stitch. The front post, you do a front post with that stitch, and the back post, you do a back post with that stitch. So this is exactly what you are going to continue doing for this row. All right, the previous front post double crochet gets a front post double crochet, the previous back post double crochet gets a back post double crochet. All right, so do that all around, and when you get here, you do your slip stitch inside the space instead of the chain 3, and continue doing that until your desired length. All right, so I'm going to go off camera now to continue putting in the rounds of front post and back post, and I'll come back to tell you how many I end up doing and the finished result. Okay, so I'm done with the band, and this is how it's looking so far. So I ended up making 1 2 3 4 altogether, 4 of the front post and back post double crochet, and as you can see, I ended up making a single crochet with the second pink color that I've been using. You see how the aesthetic is. It's so beautiful. All right, so the next step now, we are going to be adding 2 more rows to the hand area. All right, so to begin that, you are going to be reattaching your yarn at this point here where you did the joining. Okay, and then you are going to chain up 3. So I'm going to be doing mine on this space here. Chain up 3, 1 2 and 3. So on this same space now, you are going to be making 2 more double crochet on that space, because the chain 3 is going to be standing as 1 double crochet as usual. All right, so for this one, you are going to be making 1 chain, because it's just like a continuation from what we've been doing on the body of the top. All right, so chain up 1, and on the next space, you are going to be going in there with a cluster. 1 2 and 3. Chain up 1, and on the next space, you're going to be going there with a cluster. So you're already familiar with this. You just keep doing this, keep creating your clusters, and make sure you are making 1 chain in between, just like we did on the body. Okay, so keep doing it, 1 cluster on each of the spaces, chain 1, 1 cluster on each of the spaces. When you get here, you make a slip stitch and create another one. All right, so I'm going to be adding 2 more rows to my own, but if you know you want yours longer, if you want a longer sleeve, you can go ahead to add whatever rows you feel like adding. But for mine, I'm going to be going with 2 rows. All right, so I'm going to go off camera now to do my 2 rows on the 2 hands, and I'll come back to show you the finished result. All right. Okay, so I'm done putting in my 2 rows. So as you can see, it's a little bit longer, and like I mentioned, if you know you want it longer, you can just go ahead to just keep adding more rows to yours. But as for mine, this is where I'm going to be stopping it. All right, so you see how beautiful this looks. It's so cute. The table is not really doing justice to how beautiful this looks. Alright, so with this, we've come to the end of today's tutorial. I do hope you enjoy watching this video as much as I did creating the video. If you do, make sure to like this video and share it to your friends and your family who wants to make something as beautiful as this. Alright, and if you've not subscribed to my channel before now, I do not know what you are waiting for. Don't you think you're missing too much not subscribed to this channel? So I'm going to give you a minute now to click on that subscription bell below so you do not miss out on any of the beautiful tutorials that I post on here. Alright, and if you have any questions about this project, feel free to drop it on the comment section and I will be happy to help. Alright, and make sure you are following me on all of my social media handles. They are the same name, at FTK Crochet. Alright, so until next time, bye bye.